Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another round of the Middle of the Pack Racing League Touring Car Racing Championship for 2022, as brought to you here on iRacing, the premier sim racing platform on the PC console, if you will, or the PC gaming platform. Tonight marks round number 6 of the 9-round calendar, and we're here at the British circuit of Silverstone to wrap up what has been an absolutely fantastic British Touring Cup, mini cup of course within this series so far, and indeed after the fantastic racing we saw at Oulton Park last week, with quite a bit of drama in there as well, but fantastic racing nonetheless, and also the great racing that kicked off the British Touring Cup in round number 4 at Donington. We bring the curtain down on the British Touring Cup tonight at the legendary Silverstone Circuit. Our schedule as a result is going to be a little bit different tonight because it is the third round in the series of the British Touring Cup rounds, and that means it is a feature race round, and therefore we have no qualifying session tonight. So let's take you through that schedule. Times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT or UTC. There's only going to be one item on our schedule, and that is at 8:15, so in just shy of 40 minutes time we'll be bringing you the 40-minute feature race where there's no qualifying, so the grid will be set by championship order, but we'll come on to that very shortly as to how it's specifically set. In the commentary box tonight you have myself as always, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and this broadcast is being brought to you live via one of 2 media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, if you are a YouTube user, you can tune in via my personal YouTube channel. That is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 TX on YouTube. Alternatively, if you are so Twitch inclined, you can go to twitch.tv/TX141 to tune in via Twitch. And be sure to spread the word out there. And if you've got family and friends who enjoy motorsport, you're going to absolutely love this. It may not be real, but the racing is definitely real. And, well, these touring cars are absolutely true to real life in terms of how they're simulated on iRacing. But with that in mind, and well, we come to our drivers then, let's come on to the standings going into tonight. So we start off by looking at the overall championship standings for the 9-round championship, if you will, and we look at the pros here. And as we can see, Jason Landry continues to lead by a margin that's been slightly reduced down to 20 points after what was a difficult day at Oulton Park, and particularly an incident which saw Jason Landry fall very far down the order towards the end of the race. Major contact to Landry's Hyundai meant that in the end Landry was not able to pick up the result he so desired. So as a result, his lead has been cut to an extent, with Farr continuing to reel him in, and only a further 4 points back of Farr is Henry Morse there in P3. And it really is the case, our top 3 in the Pro class have made it very well known the fact they're quite up there in terms of pace, and it's for everybody else to try and play catch-up. Speaking of a driver who is playing catch-up, Conrad Makow, P4, 75 points. A fantastic drive from Conrad Makow last time out at Oulton Park. Can he make it another great drive tonight at Silverstone? And Jon Lauzon, again, finding his feet and really refinding that form that we saw in the season opener back in the United States, particularly the Californian State and Laguna Seca in round number 1, and he has come back alive as Jon Lauzon going into the British Touring Cup. Vanolst on 73 points alongside him in P5, and Vanolst, once again, a very tricky driver to pass, and has really made it known to everybody just how strong his defensive driving is, all within legal limits, of course, and our stewards are praising him for that. And then Tanner Dibble in at P7 on 63 points, and really kicking off what is the rest of the field. We seem to have that top 6 set of drivers who are breaking away, and then the rest of the drivers are trying to play catch-up, with Tanner Dibble there at P7 on 63 points. But to be fair, Dibble putting in a great performance at Oulton Park, and has been putting in a solid set of performances throughout. John Wilding in P8 there on 60 points, only 3 points behind. And further 3 points down is Eric Nickens there, and Tristan Bayliss even another 3 points behind, wrapping up our top 10. Jordan Butler, P11. It is the case that Butler not having results go his way quite recently, and therefore not scoring as many points as perhaps he'd expect he would have. And Rocco Ravath there in P12, Adam Day P13, Daniel Down in P14, Ben Rose P15, and then last but not least, Thomas Toomey P16. Meanwhile, at the other end of the spectrum, in terms of the instant count championship, remembering that our drivers do have a prize up for grabs for being the one who has the lowest number of incidents accrued over the course of the racing, so long as they've participated in a certain number of rounds. It is the case that Thomas Toomey currently leads on a single incident, and then there's quite a gap between him and then second placeman Ben Rose there on 6 instant points. Meanwhile, at the other end of the spectrum, it is the case, as you can see there, all the way up on 34 points, Jon Lauzon there, letting those incidents run away with him a little bit, and he is joined on 34 with Tanner Dibble, and they'll both be looking to bring that down, but that's nothing compared to Jordan Butler there on 72 points, and Butler has really been in the wars in this championship so far. Meanwhile, in the AM Championship overall, it's a bit of a different picture, with Alberto Alvarez leading still, and he is the best part of what is not 22 points clear, if my maths is correct. It is the case he is now only 12 points clear of Duncan Moraes. It is the case that Alberto Alvarez really losing out on some critical points over the course of the last couple of rounds. The British Touring Cup has not shone well for Alberto Alvarez, and he's being reeled in at a rapid rate by Duncan Moraes and also Edwin Onofre there. It is the case that both Moraes and Onofre, particularly Onofre, have been excelling in the races in the British Touring Cup, and Onofre has picked up 2 wins out of 2 so far. Can he make it a third one tonight? With Fernando Takahashi quite a way back, 23 points back off Onofre in P4, but it is the case that Takahashi finding his feet and finding his form once again at Oulton Park with Lee Porter in P5 there on 57 points. Joined on 55 points in P6, Craig Parks and Jermaine Warren, and they're 5 points ahead of both Justin Bragan and Roger Ganesh. Auguste Blondel completes our top 10 there on 45 points, really framing what is the split in the Anfield, but a lot of these drivers, of course, quite new to the series, are not accruing as many points because they were not around in the opening rounds. And Rodney Felker there, P11, looking to get into the top 10 tonight, only 1 point off Auguste Blondel, with Danny Kimball and Patrick Brady a further point behind in P12. Lucas Lagos and Tony Tran, P14 joint on 38 points, with Albert Brand there in what is P16 on 36. Mark Senegal 34 points, and it is the case Mark Senegal really finding some form and flavour as he's gone into the British Touring Cup with Jackie Chu, Matthew Shepka and Stefan Chalafu completing our top 20. And outside the top 20, but not to be forgotten about, Christian Jasper and Jeff Destino on what is 13 points apiece in P21, and Mason Roach bringing up the bottom of the field there in the AM Championship on 12 points. At the opposite end of the spectrum, however, in terms of the instant count, it is the case that right at the top in terms of the lowest number of incidents, we can see Edwin Onofre there on only 6 instant points, and you could argue that may be due to the fact he seems to have found a way just to outpace the rest of his AM peers and therefore out-qualify them and have races where he hasn't had to do too much battling with his fellow AM drivers. And he's been in amongst the pros and really been in the popcorn seat with regards to watching them battle and staying clear of the trouble. Mason Roach only a further 3 incidents behind him on 9, and then meanwhile looking at the opposite end, it is the case that we can see that all the way up on 59 instant points, Jermaine Warren there, and he'll be looking to try and reel those down if he wants to have a chance of finishing well in the instant point championship. Meanwhile, in the team standings, or what you could call the Constructors alternatively, we can see it's Delta Motorsports who lead on 197, but they have been closed in massively at Oulton Park by Goldwing Motorsports Pro, with Goldwing Motorsports Pro enjoying a sensational string of results there. Multiple drivers on the podium and within the top 5, and it is the case the gap between the two top teams is now only 5 points, and really, they have broken away from the rest of the field. With middle of the pack, the team that is behind the championship, it is the case they don't get to play favourites. They're P3, 143 points, 10 ahead of DNA, and RMS Racing in the top 5 there on 118, completing our top 5. Only a point behind them and rising up the order, Sunday GT Turtles at 117, with Goldwing Motorsports AM on 99 points in P7, 4 ahead Ascension Racing, Motors and Street Version completing our top 10, and then Pan Am Racing and Arc Sim Racing team completing our team championship stands. Remember, there are no prizes for the team's championship, it's just the case that we're keeping track of this for your viewing pleasure. Now, more importantly, coming into tonight, what about the British Touring Cup Championship standings? Well, we can see here, it is the case that if we just talk about the results over the 2 rounds so far in the free at the British Touring Cup, it is Austin Farr in the Pro category, who is currently leading on 47 points, 11 clear of Henry Morse. Austin Farr has been the dominant driver in the Pro category in both races, whether it be Donington, alternatively at Oulton Park. He has put together 2 sensational performances, and can he make it a trio and therefore walk away with the British Touring Cup in the Pro class come the end of tonight? He is the favourite, but do keep in mind that the grid's going to be a little bit different tonight, and that may just mix things up. Henry Morse in P2, only 1 point ahead of Conrad Makow in P3, with Sam Vanolst and Jon Lauzon only a further point apiece behind in P4, P5, and that shows you how close it has been in the Pro class in terms of battling to try and pick up podium places, if not go after Austin Farr for the win. Jason Landry at P6 there on 32 points, and again only a point off of Jon Lauzon. It's really the case that our top 6, any one of our top 6 could take home the cup tonight, with Tanner Dibble, John Wilding and Jordan Butler there, P7, P8 and P8 joint for John Wilding and Jordan Butler, 25 down to 24 points, and then Daniel Downing completes the top 10 on 19. Eric Nickens in P11 on 15 points, not having the greatest of results in the British Touring Cup. Rocco Huff the same. Tristan Bayliss missing out last time, of course, not able to participate at Oulton Park and not getting any points on the board. And then Thomas Toomey completes our British Touring Cup Pro Cup standings there in P14 on 10 points, with Adam Day and Ben Rose not having participated to date. In the AM Championship, meanwhile, it is the case that the AM Cup here is a similar picture. We do have a breakaway leader, Edwin Onofre there, on 54 points. He is 12 clear of Duncan Moraes, and it is the case that Onofre has been 1 step ahead of the rest of his peers in terms of pace, whether it be in qualifying or the race. Although Duncan Moraes did bring in that advantage to a degree last time out, the deficit was cut from approximately half a second in qualifying to about 3/10 of a second. He's continuing to cut it down. Further 5 points back, Alberto Alvarez there, P3, and it is the case the top 3 are really in with that shot of bringing home the British Touring Cup Cup, but you'd imagine an Offred is the favourite to win here. But of course, the grid setting tonight may just change things up a little bit. Lucas Lagos and Jackie Chu complete our top 5, 30 to 29 points there, with the two very close and really battling to be the best of the rest there for P4 in the Cup, with Jermaine Warren at P6 on 28. A further 2 points below him is Matthew Shepka there in what is P7 on 26 points, and then Lee Porter, Fernando Takahashi and Craig Parks complete that top 10. Mark Senegal looking to get into the top 10 come the end of the Cup on 17 points currently in P11, but he's only 3 points ahead of both Danny Kimball and Patrick Brady, who are in P12. Christian Jasper P14 and Mason Roach and Rodney Felker both on 12 points in P15, with Auguste Blondel and Tony Tran there in P17. Justin Brangham P19 on what is 9 points. A further 3 points back is Stefan Chalafu. And then last but not least, Jeff Destino with points on the board, 5 points to the driver in P21. And Albert Brand, Paul Bacchus and Roger Ganesh have yet to participate in the British Touring Cup race, so they have no points and are unranked on our board. Now, as for the championship and the season so far and what lies ahead, we can see that we have completed stage 1. That is well in the past. That was back in February. And we are coming to the end tonight of the British Touring Cup after what is 3 rounds. And tonight is round number 6. And we are at Silverstone International variant in particular. More on that in a second. The race happened on March the 16th, but we're bringing you as if it were live on March the 17th today. And, well, we do not know the result, I can assure you that. So it's going to be a surprise to me and to many of you tuning in, I'm sure, as well. And after tonight, we will be taking a week's break before returning with the race on March the 30th for more on the details around the broadcast at the end of today's show. But we'll be heading to the Japanese Cup. We'll be heading to Japan to kick off at Tsukuba, followed by Okayama International, and then last but not least, Twin Ring Motegi to wrap up the Japanese Cup and the overall championship. All 9 rounds. The curtain will come down on what is effectively April the 13th for our drivers, but a little bit after that for you as the viewer. Now, as for our circuit tonight, we are, of course, at Silverstone Circuit, the international variant. We are in Northamptonshire, the United Kingdom here, for the circuit, which, as you can see, provided to us on this circuit map by simracingwiki.com, is a circuit which is a half of the full Silverstone Circuit that you'll know from, say, Formula 1 and other series that race around here, including the GT World Challenge, the British GT portion in particular. This circuit consists of 9 corners, starting off on the start-finish straight there, the Formula 1 start-finish straight, running through Abbey Farm Curve and up into Village, before cutting back on the loop. That's how we cut the circuit in half from the full Formula 1 circuit, and then we go through the right-hander of Chapel and onto the Hangar Straight before making our way into Stowe at turn 6, down through Vale and into turns 7 and 8, and Club Corner at turn 9 to complete a lap. And we're going to be referring to our corners by their numbers rather than names to keep things simple and easy for you guys and girls tuning in. And as for our rules tonight, well, the setup will be the same as normal. It's our drivers having to run the iRacing baseline setup for all races, with their fuel loads being restricted to 32%. And that means that our drivers will need to take a pit stop, because this feature race is a 40-minute race, and those fuel tanks do not last a full 40 minutes, no matter how much fuel saving our drivers try to do. As for the feature race itself, our drivers will see the grid set as a reverse grid based on the Drivers' Championship standings following the previous round. So whoever the championship leader was going into tonight for the Pro class will be started at the back of their class, and the same for the AMT. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the championship, so long as you've got points on the board, you'll be starting towards the front. The Pro class shall start ahead of the AM class, separated by an approximate 5-second gap as managed by the lead drivers in each group. And with regards to drivers who have yet to score championship points, they will start at the back of their respective class. The race will start under a manual double-file rolling start, with the formation being held up to the start-finish line, after which drivers may go racing. Each driver has 2 fast repairs available, and a driver shall receive a drive-through penalty should they accumulate 25 or more instant points. And remember what I said about fuel? That means there is a mandatory pit stop in which drivers must take on fuel. Whether they change tyres or not, that's entirely up to them. And, well, these machines do get through their tyres quite aggressively, but we will have to wait and see how it all plays out. But that's enough rules and regulations. I know what you're all here for. You're here for the racing, so let's head back to those live pictures right now as our drivers are making their way around in this final free practice session, and we are only 1.5 minutes away from going racing here at Silverstone International. And whilst the circuit may be short, it does mean that this circuit is going to be very fast and furious, and the laps will come in at a lap time of approximately 1 minute and 9 seconds, and you can imagine that means we've got plenty of laps around here. And what is Silverstone all about? Well, it's a high downforce circuit. When you talk about a circuit such as Silverstone, it's a circuit whereby you want to carry as much speed for each and every corner. It's fast. The average speed of this circuit is very high. In fact, I think it's the highest on our calendar, or predicted to be the highest on our calendar, and that means our drivers have got to master the art of essentially carrying as much speed as they can into each and every corner, and when they have to come off throttle, they need to get back on the throttle as soon as possible in order to get the optimum lap time. As we see Tanner Dibble here from DNA making his way on to another lap. And Mark Senegal as well, making his way on around in the Hyundai Electra here as he comes on through what is turn number 5 and making his way on to what we refer to as, of course, the hanger straight here, or the run down the back straight up towards turn number 6. But whilst we are waiting to get underway, we take a look at the chat here and we can see GT Eddie there in the Twitch chat saying, I'm not ready to view this race. That doesn't sound too good, Eddie. We could also see there in the YouTube chat Shadow Fox 49 putting a number of pictures of cars, and that's great to see. And also F1 Delta saying quick maths. Indeed, we had to do some quick maths in terms of those championship standings, and well, I think we got through with flying colours in the end. But if you are tuning in right now, ladies and gentlemen, and you do have access to a keyboard, do not be shy. Feel free to say hi, whether you're in the YouTube chat, alternatively the Twitch chat. We can see the chat, and well, I hope you're all doing well and set for some fantastic racing action. I definitely am, and well, let's wait and see how it all goes. And remember, this is a replay, so we can't bring you what are cutbacks or little mini replays of events that do happen. We'll try and get everything on camera where we can. That's a technical limitation we have to deal with regards to our broadcasting setup, but we'll try and cover everything as it happens as the grid is about to be set. And we say hello there to MaxLP80 in the Twitch chat and Mark Senegal in the YouTube chat. And here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. The grid has been formed, and whilst we can't quite bring you the grid per se with regards to how it's organised because of a slight glitch of the replay, what we can do is see all of our drivers taken to that grid order, and it will be the case that we will be seeing our pros start ahead of our AMs, and once we've got everybody starting to factor on in, we will try and dissect that grid for you. As we do see there, Conrad Makow, I should say, for Delta Motorsports, getting himself all set indeed. Multiple drivers here getting ready to go racing. Delta Motorsports bringing their new liveries to the race tonight, which is absolutely fantastic to see. And you can also see the Goldwing Motorsports Army with Sam Vanolst there in the Audi RS3 getting ready to go. Indeed, it's been quite a rivalry between Delta Motorsports DNA and Goldwing Motorsports, but Goldwing really have gained a lot of ground quite recently as this grid is still being formed at the moment. And whilst we are waiting, we can see Jason Landry there in the YouTube chat, who we do say hello to. And well, let's take a look to the Blim cam here, and you can see all of our drivers, and the gridding process is already complete. We've got 23 drivers taking part today, and well, the grid has already been formed, and we are now just waiting to go racing. And it's going to be Daniel Downing on what is pole position there for the Pro Class, and he will be taking us away. Or in fact, no, my apologies, it's Thomas Toomey. Now I remember correctly, it's Thomas Toomey who takes us away in the Hyundai as he makes his way through the right-hander at turn number 6. And then in the AM class, it will be, I believe on his inside, it will be Jeff Destino who takes our AM drivers away 5 seconds behind the Pro Pack. So we look to the head of the Pro Pack here as they make their way down into turns 7, 8 and 9, coming on down very gradually, and it will be Toomey, who is our bottom placed Pro driver going into this round in the Pro Championship. He'll be getting us underway from what's the start-finish line in short order, but indeed 40 minutes of racing here at the legendary British circuit. How will it all end? Let's wait and find out as we wait for Toomey to take our drivers away for 40 minutes of racing. And it's lights out and away we go then for the feature race at Silverstone, round number 6, as our drivers get underway and go charging down towards turn number 1 here. A high-speed right-hander as they all start to settle down into order, but already it does look as though Jordan Butler being dropped down quite a bit there as we see up the inside Tanner Dibble, and as they all make their way on through here, it seems quite calm for the opening couple of corners, but now into the heavy braking zone of turn number 3, and as they all roll on in, Austin Farr then on the outside as we do see Conrad Makow making the move. And meanwhile in the AM class we can see it's the case that Jeff Destino having a slow run through turns 1 and 2, and immediately Shalafu going up the outside, the inside to outside here as they roll into 3, and it does look as though they're Destino getting it a little bit wrong on the brake, a bit of cold brakes as they all make their way on through it. And Justin Braggon here, middle of the pack racing's driver, as he battles with chequered as they come on in, and as they make their way under braking into turn number 5 here side by side, and Braggon coming on back. But meanwhile we look from them to a bit further up the order, and we look to our pro drivers as they come roaring on around through turn number 6 for the first time. And at the back of this pack is Jason Landry here, who's had a quiet start, but be fair, he was to start at the back given his championship placement. And we can see now Austin Farr trying to put pressure on Conrad Makow as they make their way into left-hander. And it's going to be Austin Farr who goes all the way around the outside to inside. A classic move there, and Austin Farr gains a position nice and early on as they make their way around to complete the opening lap. So after one lap, it is Toomey who leads currently ahead of Downing, followed by Horvath in P3, then Butler in P4, followed by Dibble in P5. Dibble tucking in behind right now, Butler losing a place on the previous lap. Sam Vanolst in P6, followed by Farr in P7. Then we've got Makow in P8, Morse in P9, and Landry. That's our top 10 and our pros covered. Then Shalafu for the AMs leading in P11, followed by Senegal in P12, and then it is just Destino go as they make their way through turn 1, but looking a bit further back. Kimball here starting to break away a little bit from Braggon, as Braggon is trying to hold firm versus what is behind him, Shepka, and Shepka losing a bit of momentum there. He was overtaken into turn 5 in the previous lap, and I think just watching right now as we see Braggon go for the move on the inside of Kimball. Oh, goodness me, Shepka's turned, the rear's come loose, and I think there was contact there as he tries to get himself back up to speed, but meanwhile as he loses out, well, Alvarez gains as a result. As we see, that's what is Kimball going very, very deep into turn number 5, and as they make their way out of 5 and onto the back straight once again here, go roaring around, and it is the case whilst they're making their way through. Kimball losing a lot of momentum here, and I do wonder when the middle of the pack racing driver, I think, was involved in that instant with Shepka only moments ago, where he's got damage on the car, and that's preventing him from building any speed as he makes his way roaring through turn number 6 here as he comes on through. Meanwhile, we see Jermaine Warren here just losing out a little bit, but I think keeping his head down and just waiting as they make their way on through. Felker here in P at number 19, and what on earth has happened to Lee Porter here of all things? He's just dropped a long way down the order, and I think Porter is, well, I think there's something wrong with the car because it's all gone horrifically wrong, and as he tries to get himself back up to speed here, well, he's got the pros coming on through a little bit further back as they make their way on through, and well, we can see Toomey's still leading in the pro class, but he's now starting to get some pressure building on him in the form of Downing here, and I think Downing has been sizing up for some time, just settling into a rhythm as they make their way down the back straight, and well, I think Toomey's going to be under a bit of pressure here as they make their way under the billboard into the long right hander they go, and as they roll on through, it is the case. Well, will Downing go for the move? Will he commit? He's going to look for it here under braking, and as they come through the right hander, it's Downing who gets on the inside. He blocks off the potential cutback from Toomey, and I think Toomey, given his current position within the championship, he's not going to worry too much, but Toomey's coming back here. He's not letting it go, and as they make the way into 7, it is the case. Well, Toomey tried to go outside to inside here, but he wasn't able to find the space, and as a result loses out as they roll on through. Now as they come through turn number 9 here, it is the case that Horvath, meanwhile in P3, given hot pursuit, and he'll be mindful of the fact that Toomey's been passed by one driver, and he'll want to be the next one who sizes him up and cuts on through as soon as possible as they make their way around on lap number 4. And as they come through, you can see Horvath all over the back here. The Delta Motorsports driver in the Honda Civic Type R really putting pressure on the Hyundai Electra driver as they make their way into turn number 3. But as they roll them through this time, Horvath just has to watch for the time being as Kimball's into the pits from what I'm hearing. And I think Kimball, with that damage that was picked up earlier, having to do repair work on the car as I see him roll on by my commentary box window. But meanwhile, Horvath here really putting that pressure on as we ride on board with a Honda Civic driver, and well, he's going to go for it here. It's not going to be the fastest run. The Civic isn't that strong in the straights by comparison, but as they make the way under the billboard here, come up into turn number 6, and as they roll on under the brakes, you can see there is the case that Toomey backs off nice and early. They're looking again for that cutback, but Horvath literally parks the car in apex and says, I know what you're trying to do, and I'm not letting it happen. So I saw you drive versus down in only a lap ago, and well, he cut it off, so I'm going to make sure I cut it off as well as they make their way through turn number 7. Meanwhile, a bit further back, I'm hearing that Destino here with some sort of slowdown, I believe, for track limits. And Alberto Alvarez and also Braggon have both come on through. But meanwhile, whilst all this is going on, Henry Morse for Goldwing Motorsports here battling with his main championship rival and the championship leader in the overall pro category in this series, and that is Jason Landry. And Landry has really been trying to find a way past Morse, but Morse literally being an absolutely unstoppable wall as they make their way through 1 and 2. But you can see there Landry on the inside. That's going to put him on the outside here as they make their way into turn number 3, and he tries to get all the way down on the inside. He's going to stay there, Landry. He's going to commit to this, and as they make their way through 4 here, it's going to put him again on the outside into 5. But Landry really putting that pressure on as they roll on through the right-hander here. Now you can see Morse having to go very slow beyond apex, and as they make their way down the back straight, well, what can Landry do here, given the Audi's acceleration up into top gear? Well, I think what Landry's got to do, he's got to commit and send it, and that's what he's looking to do here into 6. But he's going to have to be very forceful with this pass because we know that Morse will try and come on strong, and as they make their way through, well, Morse gives him the space, but you can see both of them still side by side through the corner. And as they come down to 7, Morse staying just within track limits. They come under braking into turn number 7, but literally side by side all the way through the sequence. And in the end, I think Landry's got it done as Morse clips the apex curve there, takes the sausage on the front left tyre, and that is going to be the move made for the time being. Great pass by Landry, but I think Morse has been sizing up an opportunity later in the race, or he will be, given the fact that he knows he's his equal as they make their way on to another lap. But we look from them to what is a little bit further up in the pro category, and we can see, and now Austin Farr here, remember our British Touring Cup leader going into this round and really the favourite to take the cup unless he has an absolutely unfortunate result. I'm not saying it's going to happen or commentator's curse, but right now Austin Farr trying to get some ground there on Butler, but I think Butler as well keeping an eye on Toomey, who seems to be starting to fall away a little bit from Havath and Downing, as meanwhile in the AM class, let's not forget we do have AM drivers in the series as well. We can see here Senegal all over the back of Chalafu as they make their way down through 3 and up into 4, but you can see the difference in line there where Chalafu just able to take more speed on exit as they roll on through the right-hander of 5. Now as they come on through here, look at Alvarez by comparison, gaining a huge run out of 5, and I think it's the case that Senegal all out of sorts as he made his way through 4, just very slow out of 3 through 4, the line wasn't quite there, and well, Alvarez isn't going to be close enough this time as they make their way in equal machinery, both in the Hyundai of course, and as they come into turn number 6, you can see that Alvarez is gradually creeping up towards the back of Senegal, and this is the battle for P2 in the AM class as he makes his way up the inside here with Senegal having a really bad exit out of 6 as they come into 7. Now Alvarez is going to commit to the move, and as they make their way through the corner, Alvarez gets it done here, and Chalafu not going too much quicker as they come out of 8 and into 9. I think Alvarez could be going for the lead very shortly in the AM class because he's looking very strong, and I think it's the case that he's been unleashed here as they make their way onto another lap. As they make their way on through and down and around in towards turn number 1, we do hear that a little bit further up the order. It is the case that Jordan Butler has found his way past Austin Farr, so they have changed places. I think there's been a bit of a back and forth actually between the two of them that we haven't seen on camera, but we look to them now, and well, it is the case that Jordan Butler is the leader of the two drivers as we run on board the gearbox of Butler as he makes his way into turn number 6. You can see he's having to go defensive in the middle of the road. It is the case that the two Honda drivers here getting very, very close together as they make their way down into 7. Now Butler's going to hold the inside defence here as they make their way under braking at that 100 metre board. That's the brake mark. Oh, goodness me! And Butler's turn there, as it is the case that Austin Farr, well, I think Farr would argue, we couldn't quite see it on camera, but he would argue that he was squeezed and he had nowhere to go. Meanwhile, I think it would be the case that Butler would argue we should have backed out under braking. But either way you cut the mustard, it is the case that you can see Henry Morse here, well, Landry and Vanolst have all gained, and Vanolst is now under pressure from what is the Dell Motorsport driver, Jason Landry, and Landry not pulling any punches as he really looks up the inside there to turn 1. Landry coming alive here versus the Audi driver, and Goldwing Motorsports, well, they've currently got a very fast Hyundai who's trying to find his way through as he goes to the move. There's a bit of contact. Vanolst is pushed slightly, but I think it's the case that Vanolst may have turned in a little bit prematurely. Again, that's one for the stewards. Look as Vanolst comes back. Oh, goodness me. And I think there's a little bit of disquiet and discomfort between those two. I think it's the case the stewards are going to be taking a look at that one after the race, because I think both drivers there are seeing a little bit of red, and particularly Vanolst there coming back into turn 5. But that's what we'll say about the story for now. And as they make their way down the back straight here, well, Henry Morse will gain the position. I think it's the case that Morse will be breathing a sigh of relief right now and thinking, thank goodness I wasn't involved in that. But he does have the spectre, of course, of the contact with Butler hanging over him over the rest of this race. But meanwhile, we look to Alberto Alvarez here, who is going for the lead of the AM class as they make their way down the back straight into turn 6. And as they roll on through, Alvarez goes very, oh goodness me, Chalafu gets it wrong under braking there and actually snaps the rear of the Honda loose, and as a result Bragan's going to come through, Senegal's already come through, and well, Jermaine Warren is going to say, can I have a piece of that as well please, because it is the case that everybody's getting a place off of them as they make their way through turn number 7 and into 8. And now Jermaine Warren here, who had a bit of a slow start, he's building up the speed once again, the middle of the pack racing driver, as he makes his way through turn number 9. I think he's just got to find a way to close that gap down a little bit more in Chalafu, but Chalafu losing the rear there under braking. That shows you how much bias they must be running on that Honda Civic, in the fact if the rear snap loose like that through turn number 6. And remember, these are front engine, front wheel drive cars, ladies and gentlemen. All the weight is distributed towards the front. The front tyres do all the work, whether it's on power in terms of traction, alternatively in terms of steering. And Chalafu really struggling as we see there. Warren goes a little bit deep, a little bit adventurous there, and deciding to see where the track limits are. Well, I can tell you they're definitely within those white lines as they make their way through turn number 5. But I think Warren's very cognizant of that, and I think just starting to put that pressure on here and seeing where he can try and get a bit closer under braking. But meanwhile, as they make their way down that back straight once again here, we look from them to a little bit further down the order, and Fernando Takahashi, who we can see him making his way down the straight. He's recently found his way past Destino as he makes his way up the road, and it is the case currently in P8 in the M class, P18 overall. And Takahashi, the privateer driver, looking to try and get some solid points on the board. And speaking of solid points on the board, we see Conrad Makow here making a move potentially on dip. Oh, but he's gone a little bit deep, and as a result through 2 and 3 we can see it's Austin Farr who's going to go all the way around the outside into 3. But can he get it done here? I don't think he can. I think think Farr's going to bridge too far as they make their way through 4 and up into 5. And as they come down to the braking zone here, you have to forgive me for the pun only moments ago. It wasn't intended, but as they roll them through turn number 5 and onto the back straight, we can see it's Farr here who's found his way past Makow, but he's not going to find his way past Dibble as easily. I think Dibble's very aware of the fact that he's got a Honda Civic that's paying for the position, and well, Dibble is using the one strength of that Audi, and he's using it very well, which is that traction out of low speed corners as he makes his way up the gearbox and coming through 6 here. And you can see the Honda behind him just excelling in those medium speed corners where it can use a lot more of its tyres and brakes, and then the Hyundai behind the all-rounder there just staying with these two, and well, it has a lot of pace in the opening half of the lap. Now as they roll through turn number 8 and into 9, they come through the right hand. This battle for P4, overall and P4 in the Pro class here, as they come across that timeline. We're only 12 minutes in, we've still got another 28 minutes to go, plus the final lap. It is the case, and we can see all three stand formation put out, but Dibble struggling on turning there, getting a nasty amount of understeer. Of course, these cars natively understeer, given their drivetrain nature, but Dibble finding a lot of understeer on turning into 1, and as he makes his way into 3 here, we can see it is the case that Makow is staying very close behind us. We're right on board here with the Hyundai drivers. They make their way through 4 and into 5, under braking they roll, and as they come through the right hand here, all 3 drivers literally exploiting as much of that apex as they dare, as we see the Delta Motorsports driver here just falling a little bit back on exit. I think he's watching and waiting. He might be doing some fuel saving here because fuel is a factor, and of course when you've got a long race like this and there's got to be a pit stop, as we see there, it's the case. Farr looking for the move, and as they come into braking here, we stay on board with Makow as they look through turn number 6, and Farr going for the move, and it is now Makow's going to try and look to go around Farr as they come on down. Farr getting it a little bit out of salt, and as they roll them down into the braking zone for 7, well, Dibble's going to go defensive on the inside. Austin Farr, as a result, has to stay on the outside and goes a bit deep into the corner and loses the place in terms of his ability to stay alongside Dibble, but what he instead now gets is a very fast Conrad Makow behind him as they make their way across that timeline. 13 minutes complete, and they go on to another lap, and now Austin Farr has to start thinking about defense as they come through. You can see going a little bit wide of apex there until 1 and having to collect the car back together as Jason Landry comes into the pits on what I'm hearing, and well, he hasn't had an offer or anything, so if it's an early pit stop from Jason Landry, in fact I think there's been an incident involving Landry. I think he's had a moment of circuit adding to his woes from earlier, and I think that's why Landry is coming in to do repair work to the car. But we stay here looking at Austin Farr right now, who are British Touring Cup leader going into tonight. Well, he's under a lot of pressure right now from Conrad Makow. As we go from him and look a little bit further down the order here, we look to the P3 driver in the AM class, and that's Justin Bragg in the middle of the pack racing driver here. And I've got to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I absolutely love this livery on the Audi. It's absolutely fantastic livery, and whilst it doesn't score any points, I'm sure it will score a few hearts in the viewership as they make their way through turn number 5. And we can see it's the case the 271 driver here trying to find a way to get past Senegal. And well, whilst Mark Senegal in P2 in the AM class, and further up the road from him, Alberto Alvarez just running away with things in the AM class right now. He's not the fastest AM driver out there, it should be said. Well, in fact, he is currently, I should say, but meanwhile, it is what is one, I think Senegal not quite there on the pace, but we've got Edwin Onofre, who in P5 is finding his way up through the order of the Ascension Racing driver and matching Alvarez on pace. But the problem for Onofre, of course, is he's got drivers in his way who have every right to be there. They have track position, and he's got to find his way past as he makes his way through turn number 8 and heading up into 9. We do have Conrad Makow in the pits, I should point out, and Shepka as well. Matt Shepka has come in, and I think we're starting to see some early pit stops here. The attempt to an undercut, which was very powerful, of course, at Watkins Glen International in round number 3 when we wrapped up the America's Cup, and we're seeing that apply again here today in terms of drivers trying to make that undercut work. Will it work out for them, however? Only time will tell, as Onofre makes his way down into turn number 3 right now, and I think the Ascension Racing driver here has got to play a very smart game. He doesn't need to win this one to bring home the British Touring Cup and bring home the prizes that come with it. He just needs to drive smart here and not get involved in any major incidents as he rolls on through turn number 5 once again. But of course, saying that's much easier than doing it, and over the course of the racing, he will need to keep his head together as he makes his way down the back straight. Now, as they go down the back straight here, we look back up towards Austin Farr, who's once again all over the back of Tanner Dibble, and Henry Morse, well, of course, with Makow coming into the pits, deciding enough's enough. Austin Farr is released to go on the offensive once again, and well, we can see many of you in the YouTube chat there in particular enjoying the racing that we've seen previously, and we can see a point there from GT Eddie saying that serving a slow down lap 1 for a track limit on the outside somehow. Indeed, track limits can be a bit nasty in iRacing, as they can be in all sim racing platforms, but indeed in iRacing, so those track limits do make you question what on earth was going through the mind lines when the track limits were set up. But right now, Austin Farr keeping a lot of pressure on the back of Tanner Dibble. And well, speaking of track limits, if anyone's a Formula 1 fan, there's been a recent change to the overall rules with regards to track limits and where the racetrack is and where it's not. But we'll talk about that another time as we focus on the racing here and now. 16 minutes complete, another 24 to go, and Austin Farr right now putting that pressure on for P4 in the Pro Class as they make the way up into turn number 6, and Farr goes up the inside here, and Tanner Dibble not defending this one too hard. I think Dibble's wary of the fact that they've been battling for quite some time and they are losing time to the drives up the road, particularly Toomey, who is now 5.8 seconds ahead of them, and he's been inching away, but can they reel on in? We would predict they probably can reel Toomey in, given Toomey's pace hasn't quite been there with the rest of the drivers further ahead of him. But of course, that's one of the questions that these guys will have to answer. Can they catch up to Toomey, who is 5.8 seconds up the road, and can they do it in quick order? Will the strategy have to play into their hands as well? Meanwhile, we look from them to what is Toomey, funnily enough, and Toomey has been closing up to the back of Horvath very gradually over the last couple of laps, so I'm not putting the driver down at all, but he is showing that pace to stay with Horvath as they make their way through turn number 3 into 4 and up into 5, and right now the privateer looking quite good in the number 66 car as he makes his way through 5, and you can see the difference there in terms of trying to exploit as much of the exit there at turn number 5. Well, Horvath literally running off into where the GP circuit loops back round. Meanwhile, it's the case that Toomey they're taking a much more conservative line. It's working out for both of them. Toomey staying with him. As meanwhile, Stefan Chalafou has just found a way past Rodney Velker as they make the way through what is turn number 2 and up into 3. And as they come into that braking zone, where we look to Rodney Velker here, who sees up his inside, that is Takahashi, but Takahashi has to back out. They're too far away to go for that potential move. But you can see what Takahashi's trying to do. He's trying to fake a move up the inside there into turn number 3, and in doing so, trying to essentially dupe Velker into out-braking himself into the corner, which is a classical tactic, particularly in touring car machines around this circuit or any sort of cup car series. And as they make the way down the back straight here, you can see Makow having to try and scythe his way through the amps here, keeping in mind that Conrad Makow has pitted from what was at the time P6 in the Pro Class, and well, Takahashi gives him the space, but meanwhile Chalafou goes very deep into the corner, and this is going to put Stefan Chalafou on the defensive line versus Rodney Velker as they come down to braking. Now can Velker get the cut back here? He's going to look for it, but Chalafou goes incredibly deep, almost anticipating an attempt at a cutback. I don't think it was anticipation, I think it was a mistake under braking, and Velker here has nowhere to really go, with Conrad Makow literally going all the way around the houses. We're hearing that Vanolst has just jumped to the pits. I'm not sure what's happened to Vanolst. I think there's some damage to the car that's been picked up somewhere, but Velker has lost out massively in all this, and now can Fernando Takahashi find a way on through? He's been sizing up for some time, but will he be able to? We've got more pit stops occurring. We've got Jermaine Warren in, and Vanolst of course has jumped to the pits quite recently. As we see Takahashi looking for that run out of 3 and up towards 5, and he's getting closer and closer each and every time. As they make the way into braking here into turn number 5, you can see not quite there. Meanwhile, Velker, well, he's going to have to worry. In fact, he will have to worry now because the Audi is going to be able to unleash the beast as they make the way down the back straight here. And as they come roaring on down, will we see a potential move here from Takahashi? I don't think so, unless he's going to really commit a last minute here. No, he's not going to go for it, and instead just watches and waits once again. And well, but ahead of them, Conrad Makow here, not able to find a way past Chalafou. Now, do keep in mind, whilst they're in different classes, there are no points for an AM to beat a pro. It is the case they're awarded points based on class only, but at the same time, it is the case that they're not expected just to give way to the pros. Of course, it's mutually beneficial if they can let the pro on through, but here it's the case that Chalafou, I think, taking the approach of, well, if you're a pro, find the pace and find a way on through. And as they make the way across that timeline once again and going into turn number 1, it is the case. Well, Chalafou right now just trying to build some pace to break away from Velker and Takahashi. He doesn't want to be reeled back in to that battle behind him, I can assure you of that, as they make the way on through and up into turn number 3. But meanwhile, we must come from them to a little bit further up the order, and Thomas Toomey still all over the back here of what is Rocco Ravath as they make the way through 7 and 8, and you can see it's almost as if Toomey's been protecting the car because he's able to take a much smoother line there through turns 7 and 8, where we'd expect the Honda to actually be the stronger of the two cars. In fact, it's Toomey in the Hyundai who is enjoying that run through 7 and 8, and as they come into turn number 1, let's see in the body language of the car there, well, both of them able to take the apex quite comfortably, but as they make their way through 2, Toomey going a little bit deep with, I think, the dirty F the back of the Honda, and now into 3, and I think what it is, Toomey's just able to feel comfortable to be about 4 or 5 tenths off the back of Ravath as they make make the way around, maybe doing a bit of fuel saving, maybe a little bit of car preservation, and as they roll them through here, will go to me go is I think what many will be saying, particularly his pit crew. As meanwhile, Justin Bragan here and Mark Senegal battling here as they make their way out the final corner, and that I believe is an offer as well, who's trying to go all the way around the outside. Well, I think Senegal's had a very poor run out of 9 with the battling, and now the Ascension Racing driver is trying to find a way on through 2 and up into 3. He's going to look for the move here versus Bragan. I don't think there's anything that's going to be coming off of it. He's too far back, but it does look as though that in the move that Bragan made on Senegal to gain P2 in the AM class, it's resulted in Offred being given an opportunity to come on through as well, and that's what you sometimes got to do, such as the Ascension Racing driver here. You've just got to wait until those opportunities are presented. As meanwhile, Takashi's gone for the move round 4 and into 5, a lock up on the front right brake, and as they make their way out of the corner here, will we see a potential comeback? Well, we'll have to cut from that very shortly, because we can see an Offred's going for the move here for P2 in the AM class, and this will release him to hunt down Alvarez as they make their way through, but Bragan's not going to let this one go easy. As an off-red stays on the inside, I think he might be pinning into the pits. He's lost a lot of pace. No, he's just backed off there. He's decided he wants to give the space. Fair play. And as they make their way through 7-8, I think he could have been a little bit more aggressive with that move. I think Enofe prided himself on the fact he's got a very low instant point count at the moment, and he doesn't want to add to that tally as they make their way through 9. He hits the sausage curve there as they go onto another lap, but unfortunately for him, Senegal's not close enough to capitalise on that tiny mistake as they make their way into 1, and they are just over half the race distance complete as Chalafu and Felker are into the pit. And it is the case that Felker has just been passed by Chalafu as they make their way up into turn number 3. Once again here doing offer and Bragan. A lot going on all at the same time right now, but it is the case that, well, with regards to the racing at the moment, we've still got quite a few pit stops that we're waiting on, and particularly the majority of our pros from P1 all the way down to P7 have yet to take their pit stop, and it is the case in the AM class. We've still got quite a few pit stops on the board, and you're looking at 3 drivers in particular who've yet to take their pit stop, but we can see there a mention with regards from GT Eddie saying wanting to pass but not going to punt to pass, and I think a very sensible approach with regards to that. As meanwhile an offer here trying to find a way on through, and as they roll them through here, it is the case a lot of drivers having to be very careful because they don't want to pick up any damage. Great points up on offer here, and well, with the mix of the field with that reverse grid, it's a chance for drivers who normally finish a bit further down, as we see an offer there again over the sausage curve at turn number 7. That's not going to help the suspension, and that's just going to unsettle the car a little bit as Henry Morse is into the pits, and that means that Alberto Alvarez moves up another places. Will these drivers, remember they do have to pit, as an offer looking for the move all over the back here of Bragan as they come into turn number 1 here on lap number 20. Now you can see Bragan going a bit deep. There's an offer lifted off to settle the car. They roll through 2, coming up into 3. Will the Ascension Racing driver go for it? No, he's not close enough. What he's going to do, he's going to try and set up the move here on the apex. He uses the sausage curve there to turn the car through 3, get a little bit extra rotation by lifting the wheel up, and as they make their way through 4 and into 5, now just rolling on through, you can see Bragan goes a little bit deep, and Offred will use that to gain a bit more speed as they make their way down the straight, down the back straight once again. That Audi just so strong under acceleration, particularly from 2nd up into 5th gear, and as they make their way up into turn number 6, this is where Offred needs to be just a little bit closer to look for that move. He takes a little peek to the inside, he can't quite find it, he has to wait for that opportunity once again. This is the closest battle on circuit. Mark Senegal just behind the driver we're riding on board, and you might be able to see him in the left hand mirror every so often, but as they make their way into that braking zone for turn number 7, no change at this point. But of course one driver who's coming up behind all of this is Conrad Makow. We'll talk about in a second as Offred gets very close through 8. Bragan really struggling on the exit of 8, and as they make their way through 9, that's another lap down, and as they come down towards turn number 1 once again, surely he's got to think about sending the move soon, because he's right there every lap, and we see Bragan goes much deeper into the corners, and Offred lifts off to give space, and as they roll them through here, the Ascension Racing driver is literally where he was last time around on this lap, just watching, waiting, and as they roll them through, is the case. They come through turn number 3 and head into 4, 5, and you can see now Mark Senegal all over the back of this pack as they roll on through turn number 5, and this is a horrible place to be for the British Touring Cup and Championship leader, because he wants to find a way on through, but he can't safely by looks of things, and as a result now he's got pressure building and feel for Conrad Makow here, who as well wants to try and come through the pro drive, needs to clear the AMS to get this undercut to work as Austin Farr comes into the pit, but it's not working out right now as Makow does go for the move there, and I think Mark Senegal just respecting the fact that Delta Motorsports driver is always going to try and force his way on through in the end, and meanwhile you can see an Offred peeling into the pits. He's recognised it's time to go on in. He needs an undercut here. This is not working out. And he's decided, I think he could have done it a lap before potentially, but he's decided to go for the undercut. And I think that will help him in the long haul. As meanwhile, we look back now to Mark Senegal, who is falling away from Makow. As Makow tries to find a way past what is there, Justin Braggan, as they come on through and on to another lap. But we look from them to right up the front of the field. And, well, here is your race leader at the moment, the overall leader and your pro leader. And that is Daniel Downing for Goldwing Motorsports here, who comes on in to the pit. And as he makes his way in, we look from him to Rocker Avaf, meanwhile, who stays out for another lap, so he will get the opportunity to lead at least one lap of this race as he rolls them through the left-hander at turn 7 there, and the car just sliding a little bit under braking, or at least transition off the brakes. Just looks as though the rear started to slide on in. I think he's managing that okay as he makes his way through turn number 9 and going on to what will be for him at lap number 23. And as they come on through at this time around, it is the case that we can see a little bit further behind Thomas Toomey, who has fallen away a bit from Horvath over the last couple of laps, but at the same time, the privateer here showing great pace. That last lap from Toomey was 110.8 versus Horvath on a 110.3, 5 tenths, but it might be just a single mistake there. It might be that tyre wear starting to accumulate, but you can imagine that in the mind of Toomey right now, he'll be very happy with this performance, and I think he's on course for a top 5 here, which will be a season best as he makes his way into turn number 5, and as he rolls on through. Meanwhile, Conrad Makow here battling with Justin Braggan. He's found his way on through as they come through 9, and Makow has to give the space to Braggan, and Braggan is not giving this up whatsoever. And look who's catching up now, Austin Farr, who's recently pitted, and Makow was going to use that undercut to get ahead of Farr. Well, it's worked to get him ahead of Austin Farr, but look at how it's now being punished through the fact that Austin Farr has got right back up to the back of him. And this is not what Makow will have wanted as they make their way through the right-hander and into left-hander turn number 4. And we can see it there, Edwin Offrey, or ASR Spaghetti in what is, Spaghetti I should say, in the YouTube chat saying somehow 6.9 seconds of optional repairs became 20 seconds. That's very unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. And well, we can see as a result that I think Offrey is still in, well, he just made his way out in P17 and what is P8. And that's not worked out for him as meanwhile, it is the case that Conrad Makow here making the move on Braggan and finally getting it done, but look at what it's cost him, however, as Braggan peels into the pits by the looks of things, and now Austin Farr will be looking to go on the offensive here. He'll be rubbing his hands together, salivating at the prospect of getting one up on the Delta Motorsport driver as they make their way through turn 7, 8 and up into 9. But as they come on through, we still do have 12.5 minutes of racing plus that final lap to go here. It's still all to play for, and my goodness, at this point in time, well, I think we still have to wait on Horvath, Toomey and Dibble as to what their pit stops will specifically be and where it will place them. But the drivers who've gone for those early undercuts, it has not worked out for our pro drivers in particular. They have been hit very hard, as meanwhile Jeff Destino going very slowly coming out of turn number 8 there, and we're hearing he was going very slowly almost to trigger an incident. I think it is the case the privateer just getting a bit wrong on the braking into 7 and locking the car up. But meanwhile we look from him to one, what is, well, where we can find him, and that is Shepko. We're trying to find out on circuit right now, and he is making his way through turn number 1 and up into 2, and he's in the pursuit here of Warren. As into the pits comes Horvath, Toomey and Dibble, so we're going to look at Shepko for a brief period of time as he makes his way on through the corner, but we will have to let them go very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, because we do need to find out what exactly is happening with Downing. Now, this is Daniel Downing, who was leading before he came into the pit. He makes his way through the right-hander there of turn number 9, and he had a lot of an advantage as he makes his way across that timing line. And, well, Rocco Avav has just left the pit lane, and as he makes his way out, where's Downing? Here is Daniel Downing, and there's Rocco Avav, who comes out behind him, and that advantage that Downing had has been cut to an extent. To be fair, it's no longer the 3-4 seconds that it was. It's come down to 1.6, and as they make the way around here, I think Rocco Avav is on the offensive. But to be fair, Downing has not lost too much. He's lost a small amount of advantage, but he's still got a bit there. And in terms of their lap times, both of them have shown similar lap times over the course of the race so far. So now it is a pursuit for the best part of 11 minutes from Rocco Avav to see if he can take the win here at Silverstone as they make their way down the back straight. Meanwhile, Thomas Toomey has come back out in P3 just ahead of Tanner Dibble. He's done enough to stay ahead of the Audi driver with Dibble tucked in behind, and as they make their way down the back straight here, well, Dibble's now got to find his way through, but Conrad Makow, who wanted to be coming out in amongst them, if not ahead, excuse me, this is how much he has lost out with the fact he's had to bow his way past AM drivers. He makes his way through six, and as they come charging on down, it is one of those situations he rolls down into turn number 7, just trying to find a way to keep on building the speed. But as he comes around, and well, we look a little bit further back right now to Matt Shepka here, who is going to be putting that pressure on Jermaine Warren as they make their way down the back straight. And well, for Shepka and Warren, they'll both be wanting to be on the podium. They'll both want to be as high as possible on that podium, and well, they're battling for P2 in the AM podium as they come on through turn number 6. No change right now as they come on down into the braking zone. As they run down under braking here, how will it all play out? That is a big question. Well, I think for Jermaine Warren, he's under a lot of pressure here from his fellow Honda driver behind him, of course, and the middle of the pack racing driver. It gets a little bit wrong on the sausage curve, and as he makes his way out 9, Shepka takes a sniff of the inside there, and you have seen some of the sparks coming up where the bottom plate of the Honda Civic of Jermaine Warren just grazed the sausage curve and bounced, and that's the problem with these sausage curves. As soon as you put a wheel on one of them, it lifts the car up very nastily, and as they roll them through turn number 2, well, Warren is under a lot of pressure as they make the way into 3, and now where will Shepka look for the move? I think he's going to look for it anyway. He's going to look for it down the back straight into 6. That'll be the place to set it up, as we're hearing that Danny Kimball has had a moment off circuit. We've heard, excuse me, we should clarify, we have had 2 retirements in this race. We've lost Lee Porter and Sam Vanolst, both with technical issues with the car, but now it's Jermaine Warren who has to worry about the fact battling side by side here with Matt Shepka as they come roaring down the back straight. Shepka up the inside, Warren on the outside, and I think Warren may be looking for the cutback here, given the fact that Shepka's gained a lot in the run, but as they come on through turn number 6, Warren just not able to get that cutback on the inside, and Shepka covers it off, just keeps it on the curb there, and as they make the way down into turn number 7, will Warren try and come on back? No, I don't think so at this time. I think he'll wait and bide his time as they roll on through and down through turn number 8 and in towards 9. But as they come through the right-hander, it is the case that I think Shepka in the end may just have a little bit more pace in the tank, and well, I think it is being shown by the fact that Shepka is absolutely breaking away. That gap already up to 5/10 of a second, and it is incrementally gaining through each corner as they make it way through. But to be fair to Jermaine Warren, I think it's also the case here. I think he'll take that P3, given the fact that he's got a gap of what is 6.5 seconds to Justin Bragg. And if we do a little bit of quick math here, the last lap from Jermaine Warren at 1:11.69. If we take off 3-4 tenths there for the battling that he had with what is Shepka, if you take 2 tenths off as a minimum, Justin Bragg meanwhile at 1:11.2. I think Warren's got enough here. If he keeps up the pace he's currently running, he will be coming home on the bottom step of the podium come the end of this one. It's a race result well deserved as he makes his way down that back straight and up into 6. But meanwhile, we must look from him to the head of the pack right now, and our overall leader and our pro leader for Goldwing Motorsports, that's Daniel Downing, because over the last couple of laps he's not had the laps he's needed to keep this man at bay, and Delta Motorsports' Rocco Abuff is coming down very quickly on that gap. He is closing him down as he's unleashing the Honda Civic here versus the Hyundai, and as both machines make their way on through, of course it's the Japanese machinery of the Honda Civic versus the South Korean machinery of what is the Hyundai ahead, and as they make their way down the back straight, well, we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. But given the current pace these two are showing, I would argue that probably within the last 3 minutes of this race, that is where the gloves will come off between these two, and they will be battling their way on around as they come down and through. It is the case that right now it's just building up to something special, as meanwhile a little bit further down in the pro class, but not to be forgotten about, we can see here it's the case when we do have Edwin Onofre there lifting off, and Onofre with an absolutely horrific pit stop by the sounds of things. I'm hearing as well he took tyres when he didn't need to, and as a result that's why he's down in amongst these drivers right now. Onofre down in P16, that equates to what is P7 in the AM class when he was looking to come home on the podium. It's not working out, but meanwhile we see Makow here trying to hunt down Dibble in the closing stages of this race as they make the way through the corners here. And well, let's just bring you up the battle box so you've got that for reference, as it hasn't made a feature on the screen at the moment, and you've got that now in the bottom right as they make the way in towards turn number 3. But meanwhile we must look from them to our race leaders, and you can see here is the case that Downing is constantly being reeled in lap after lap. 3 tenths here, 3 tenths there, and now Haraf literally on the back of him. 6 tenths it looks like the gap right now, but do keep in mind of course on this straight, Haraf having a bit of a poor run out to turn number 5, but he will gain in the slipstream down here. And of course the two drivers in very different machinery, we're seeing those differences in characteristics, whereby the Honda just able to go more aggressive on the brakes compared to the Hyundai. The Hyundai having the better straight line speed and overall performance in the acceleration stakes, and as they make their way down into 7, well, it's the case, can Downing hold on? Or will Rocco Abuff look for a move? As meanwhile, it does look as though we had a brief moment there whereby we saw the Tanner Dibble had got ahead. I think that might have been a little bit of a latency issue rather than anything concrete. As you can see there, the gap between Dibble and Makow is not suggestive that the two of them have been sharing side-by-side space. And as they make their way around here, 5.5 minutes remaining, including that final lap, they calm it down the round and go on to lap number 30. Now, as they do, you can see Makow gets in very close. We ride on board with the Delta Motorsports driver as he tries to find a way past Dibble. Now, we know Dibble in that Audi can be very defensive. We know he can be very smart with where he places the DNA Audi RS3 as they make the way through 3. And you can see there once again, Makow taking a lot more speed into the turn 3 apex and instead having to back out in the end because Dibble just slow through the corner, but able to get back on the throttle and use the Audi's raw strength, which is its gearbox, to its advantage, whereby it's just got such snappy gearing. And as they make their way down the back straight here and roar on down, you can see it is the case. The Audi breaks away, and it's only when they get to 5th, 6th gear, this is where the Hyundai gains, and that is what Makow's got to find a way to break down. He's got to get that Audi to go deep into a corner, because if it doesn't go deep, and it is the case that Makow can't be all over the back of him within 2-3 attempts over the course of the lap, then Dibble, I think, will just have enough in that gearbox to be able to stay away. As we can see, just a little bit of a lock up there on the rear left as they made their way through turn number 7 into 8, and it's the case that Dibble gets it all sorts of wrong as they make their way out of the final corner, and this is what Makow needs. He's got to go for it as they make the way down the straight. He's going to be made to go around the outside, and as they come down to break into turn number 1, well, Dibble's going to go very deep. He'll naturally understeer. He keeps it just within track limits, but now Makow will have all the run he needs. Can he get it on the brakes into turn number 3? No, he can't. He waits. He bides his time. They make their way through turn number 3. Behind them, it is the case. They do have Austin Farr, who's trying to close up, but he's got Edwin and Onofre between them, as Onofre is a lap down and will be getting blue flags, I would presume, as they make their way on through. Meanwhile, from this battle, we look to the front of the field, and we can see as they make their way down into turn number 6, Downing goes very defensive as they come through. It is the case that Horvath is there with 3.5 minutes to go, and as they roar through and come down to turn number 7, Downing's got to find a way to make that Hyundai incredibly wide. It's got a wide rear end as is, but he needs to make it a lot wider as they come through. So Horvath tries to get the cutback, but Downing says, no, I know that one's coming. I'll put it on the apex for you. And as they make their way through turn number 8 and into 9 right now, they've got approximately 4 more laps to go, including this one. In fact, it's 3 more laps to go, including the one they've just gone on to. And as they make their way through, well, can Downing hold Horvath at bay for 3 more laps as they roar through? 3 minutes to go here at Silverstone, and Downing goes a bit deep into 2. And as they make their way into 3, I think this is it. Although Downing's going to go as late as he can on the brakes, but Horvath puts it round the outside. Now, can he get the acceleration? He can't quite get fully ahead. Instead, he falls back through 4. Downing on the inside into 5, and Horvath looks at the cutback once again. But Downing stays ahead for the time being. But remember, now we've got the long back straight, and you can see immediately Downing weaving from side to side here, making his way to the inside as they roar under the board. They make their way down the hanger straight. They come up towards turn number 6, and Downing's going to be forced onto the inside line with Horvath pinning him there until they get into that braking zone, and Horvath tries to go round the outside here. It's a bold pass, but it can be done, and as they make their way through this side by side coming down into turn number 7, Horvath has the inside line here. He just needs to commit to the braking zone, and meanwhile Downing looks at potential cut back, but they both go a little bit deep there, and Horvath gets the position for the time being, but Downing's all over the back of him as they make their way through 8 up into 9. Now, will Downing have a way back, or will this be it? I think Horvath's done enough, but of course they do have 2 more laps to go here as they complete lap number 32. They go on to lap number 33, and the Delta Motorsports driver goes a little bit deep into turn 1, but it's not enough to upset the car, or is it, as they make the way down into turn number 3, and I think Downing's going to look all the way at the inside. He goes for it, he sends it, and there's contact between the two of them as they make their way out the corner, and Horvath will not be too happy with that one. He'll feel as though that Downing went in a bit too aggressive, but meanwhile they make their way through. They've got to carry on racing for the time being, and as they make their way around, you could see, I think Downing politely yielding the position there, knowing he gained it with contact. That's great sportsmanship being shown, and I think the stewards will respect that, although there may still be a little bit of a penalty, but that's up to the stewards to decide. But we love the sportsmanship being shown here. But Rocco Horvath takes the lead of this race on what is the penultimate lap, and now the Delta Motorsports driver still has Daniel Downing trying to come back at him. This time Downing wants to do it the right way without the contact. You love to see it as they make the way Downing to turn number 7. But as they come on through, and meanwhile, Conrad Makow has yet to find a way past Tanner Dibble, I can tell you. And it is the case that also Jordan Butler is trying to find his way past Henry Morse as they are all battling for positions right now in the late stages. In the AM class, there's not too much happening right now. I think our AM drivers are just trying to bring things to the end as we look to our race leaders. Onto the final lap they go. The white flag is out. One more tour of the Silverstone International Circuit, and Downing looks for it into turn 1. He's not there. He's not able to get alongside, but Hoaf goes a little bit deep again. But look, this time it's the case that Downing has not carried the speed, and I think with that may be it, unless Hoaf has a completely ugly rest this lap. It is the case. Hoaf has got this done. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, you can see that Tanner Dibble here holding on versus Conrad Makow as they make the way through 4 and up into 5. And the DNA Motorsports driver here, I think, will have enough in the tank because of the back straight here, where the Audi will just break away. Meanwhile, Henry Morse, well, he has got Jordan Butler behind him. Butler looking for that potential move as Morse has to go very defensive there. And Butler tries to get the cutback, but to no avail as they make the way on out of turn number 3 and up into 4, 5. And as they make the way, a little bit of grass there for Henry Morse. But as they roll on through, we're going to have to break away from that, ladies and gentlemen, because our race leader makes his way into the final 3 corners here. He started not quite towards the front. He's had to fight his way through the Pro Pack, but as he comes through the final corner, he's done it. He comes up through the final corner, and it's going to be Rocco above for Delta Motorsports, who takes the win overall in the Pro class ahead of Daniel Down in the end, as Daniel Downey brings it across the line. Thomas Toomey brings home his maiden podium. A brilliant drive from Toomey. Tanner Dibble P4, followed by Conrad Makow P5, Austin Farr P6, Jason Landry P7, Jordan Butler battling here with Henry Morse as they make their way through the final corner. And I think it's going to be Butler trying to hold on, but Morse gets it done around the outside for P8 in the end. Brilliant move from Morse as they come across the line, and it'll be Alberto Alvarez who is your winner in the AM class in a brilliant fashion there from the privateer. A fantastic drive, puts him right back up there once again. Matt Shepka in the end comes home P2 in the AM class, and I think you'll be proud of that one, with Jermaine Warren completing the AM podium here at Silverstone ahead of Justin Braggan, who makes his way for the final corner. Brilliant driving from Justin Braggan, to be fair, to come home P4 when all is said and done in his class, P13 overall. And it will be Mark Senegal here who comes home to complete the top 5 of the AM class in a great result for the Sunday GT Turtles driver, ahead of Fernando Takahashi, who comes home P15, completing all of our drivers there on what we believe is the lead lap as he makes his way on through. And I think Edwin Onofre has already completed his race for Ascension Racing there, P16, P7 in class ahead of Stefan Chalafu. Then we have Rodney Felker P9 in the AM class, Tony Tran at P10, and it's Jeff Steno P11 in the AM class, Danny Kibble P12 in the AM class, P21 overall. And we had the 2 retirements of Lee Porter and Sam Vanolst. But my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic race. And well, most of our drivers have already made their way into the pit lane, but one driver is making his way around right now and be very pleased to be back up there after what was the Edwin Onofre show for 2 rounds back to back. It is Alberto Alvarez. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere, because we'll be shortly looking to confirm who our British Touring Cup winners are, and you won't want to miss it. We'll be back very shortly. Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen. Well, without further ado, we are ready, I should say, to announce the British Touring Cup winners for the 2020 Middle of the Pack Racing League Touring Car Racing Championship. Remember, these are the drivers who are crowned our winners after the 3 rounds in the United Kingdom. We started off at Donington, we then headed to Oulton Park, and we wrapped up tonight at Silverstone. Our winner in the Pro class in the number 69 car is Austin Farr for Goldwing Motorsports Pro, and it is Edwin Onofre for the number 299 car from Ascension Racing Racing, picking up the AM Class Cup. Now, I should point out, as you can see that at the bottom of your screen, these results are provisional and are awaiting the outcomes of post-race stewarding decisions. Both, as I understand it, the drivers were involved in a couple of incidents which are still being investigated by the stewards. So we will be confirming the British Touring Cup winners come the broadcast of round number 7. We'll confirm it there that they are our provisional winners, and if so, it'll be Oulton Park taking the win in what is a fantastic drive, and he will have brought it home with an advantage in the end of 11 points over Conrad Makow. And for Edwin Onofre, with those 2 wins at what were both Donington and also Oulton Park, Edwin Onofre brings home the cup, subject to stewards' inquiries, of course, by what will be 6 points over Alberto Alvarez. And what that means is that both of these drivers will be receiving their prize, which is a $5 United States award for bringing home the British Touring Cup. Congratulations to both of them. Fantastic driving from them. But of course, now the pressure will be on the pair of them to try and hold on to that mantle in the Japan Cup, which kicks off in round number 7 and wraps up in round number 9. Remember, we're not crowning our overall championship winners for the 9 rounds of this series. They all need to be crowned when the curtain comes down in the final round. But congratulations to Oulton Park and Edwin Onofre for the British Touring Cup, winning their respective cups in class. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. And if you do want to know more about the Middle of the Pack Racing League community, that's the MPRL community in short, or the series they run, then why not check out their official Discord, link on screen, or alternatively their official Twitter. That is twitter.com/MOP Racing. But until now and until next time, we must say goodbye. And next time, we'll be heading to Japan to kick off the Japan Cup with the Silverstone Circuit for round number 7. Now, I should clarify, because some of you will be wondering, Thursday the 7th of April 2022 doesn't sound right in terms of date for the broadcast. The race will be occurring on what is Wednesday the 30th of March, but unfortunately, due to a little bit of personal scheduling, where I'm going to be unavailable for a couple of weeks as your commentator and broadcaster, I'll be bringing you the broadcast on Thursday the 7th of April, so just after round number 8 has happened, and then it will be the case that the broadcast for round number 8 will be happening the Saturday that follows. So that'll be Saturday the 9th of April 2022, and we'll be catch up on all the racing action then and there. And then our season finale will be back on our normal schedule, where it will be taking place on what will be, if I do my maths correctly here in terms of dates, it will be Wednesday the 13th of April to wrap everything up in terms of the championship, but we'll be bringing you that season finale broadcast on Friday the 15th of April. So just to clarify that and to simplify it, the broadcast for round number 7 is going to be just under a week later than it normally would be. So it'll be on Thursday the 7th of April, and then we will be playing catch-up. So you will have to miss out on some broadcasts for a little while, but I'm sure you can all wait for that fantastic racing action that lies ahead. And indeed, when we kick off that Japan Cup, it'll be to crown one more pair of cup champions, and also to crown our overall champion come the end of round number 9. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. We have been Middle of the Pack Racing, and I have been your host, broadcaster and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.